Okay, everyone, let's get started. So today we're honored to have Ken Granderson here. Ken is, like I said in the chat, he's been in the game since the 90s and he's been doing excellent work since the 90s in tech. One great thing about Ken is that a lot of his efforts and a lot of his brilliance has gone into helping the Black community and uplifting the Black community. And I think what Ken is most known for, correct me if I'm wrong, is blackfacts.com, which is a great repository of Black knowledge and Black history. So with that said, I'll hand it over to Ken. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. I'm going to do the old screen share. And let me move the Zoom over here, make sure I share the right screen, because it is this one. Okay. All right. So do you see a festive AI generated image there?
Yes, we do.
All right, fantastic. So, thank you, gentlemen. So my name is Ken Granderson, and the name I came up with this is using generative AI to supercharge your career. It's not necessarily career specific, but here are my objectives. Give you a little personal intro, because
And could you turn on recording?
oh,
The recording is on. The recording
Oh,
started.
okay, just double checking.
okay,
Yeah,
cool.
thank you.
Yep. Yeah. Personal intro, because my perspectives, my opinions are definitely shaped on the fact that I've been doing this stuff a long time and have seen things come and go, blah, 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 and think that generative AI is different from other things. I want to share some information and show, depending on the time, maybe just some screens, maybe do a couple of things of real world use cases for me. What I'd really like to spend a good chunk of time in is real world use cases for you, and in terms of demos, and then some conclusions. So that's just the overall agenda. My objectives for this talk are to help folks become aware of some readily available technologies that I believe are transformative at levels I have not seen before in 30 years of being a full-time technologist, to show some real world examples, how I've been using these technologies to save me time and make me money, to show some ways that you might be able to use these technologies to do the same, but ultimately to inspire you to take action so that you can put yourself at the head of the class in terms of leveraging technology for your future progress. But first, as the saying goes, allow me to introduce myself.
I'm Ken Granderson, a boy from the hood, formerly known as Do or Die Bed-Stuy, who went to MIT in a decade after graduating, created a few shareware programs that helped me quit my daytime tech job. This inspired me to become a technology evangelist for the Black community. So for the past 30 years, I've been creating tech that informs, inspires, and empowers people from communities of color. In 1995, I took a book on Boston's Black history, made it into a multimedia CD-ROM, and tried to get it into Boston's public school systems. For the next decade, my software consultancy, InnerCity Software, put Black and allied businesses and organizations online in Boston, New York City, and in DC. In 1997, I became a Microsoft Most Valued Professional, which gave me access to their database tools. So I created blackfacts.com, the internet's first Black history encyclopedia to give Black Americans just learning about the internet a culturally relevant reason to go online. In 2002, we built Roxbury.com, which included self-service, event, and business listings that preceded Yelp and Eventbrite by 2 to 4 years. A decade later, I put the government of St. Lucia online with a multi-tenant custom content management system I still manage for them today. In 2017, I built Timbuktu, our online content aggregation, classification, and syndication system that uses NLP AI engines to link over 1 million Black history and news articles on blackfacts.com. Timbuktu can host other sites like Black Facts for any ethnic, cultural, faith, lifestyle, or other identity groups. Timbuktu also powers our diversity schoolhouse edtech system built on our 1,500 episode library of original Black history videos, where we use generative AI to add teacher talking points, student writing exercises, activities, and quizzes, empowering educators to teach Black history and ethnic studies from any internet-connected device, from the smart board on their wall to the smartphone in their hand. We are redefining the way that education is taught using technology in the 21st century, using 21st century tools with 21st century students. We believe that Diversity Schoolhouse demonstrates how education will be delivered in schools around the world in the future. And as Black technologists, we're working on either becoming or inspiring the first tech household name from a Black community, a Black Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, or Mark Zuckerberg, who's known not only for creating software used by millions, but also for proudly embracing their heritage and showing up for millions of children of color around the world as somebody who looks like them, who's at the top of the most impactful industry on the planet. Because when you're a kid like I once was, growing up in a community like the one I grew up in, when someone asks you what you want to be when you grow up, that's when they need to know about what we have created. Because as we say, Black facts matter. Thank you.
So I share that as a sort of a context because, like the State Farm guy, I've seen a thing or two. And when it comes to technology, because I've forgotten about more hype and trends than most people have seen, but as a full-time user of generative AI for the past year or so, there is no doubt in my mind that this time around, this is not hype. This is different. And I believe that the maturity of 3 technologies puts us in a place we've never been before. And those 3 things are the ubiquitous nature of mobile devices. In over 100 countries, there's over 70% penetration of mobile devices. So that means most people have access to technology literally in the palms of their hands. Second is just-in-time speech recognition. 20 years ago, it took you 20 minutes of reading Dilbert to get Dragon Naturally Speaking to do voice recognition that was not good enough to actually use. Today on your phone, web browser, or in any desktop app, you can talk to these devices real time and they know what you're saying the first time. And number 3, subject of today, generative AI, first technology I've seen that does not require any level of technical capability for you to gain high value out of it, and it's a general purpose technology. So those fundamental premises, to me, I believe that literally everyone needs to be aware of and think of ways they can use generative AI for their benefit. So I'm going to proceed with a few examples of how I'm using it, or how I've been using it to make my life easier, to save money, and make money. So some of those examples include these that you can see: coding, writing emails, proposal writing, image generation, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so as a couple of real world examples, I'm going to bring up my web browser to ChatGPT-4. And now I happen to use ChatGPT. I know there are a lot of other AI tools, and some of them may be better or worse for different things. Honestly, I'm not going to claim I'm an expert in all the different things that are out there. I'm just using one that I know, and so I'm just going to open up, an email, like, for example, okay, I'm sharing my other screen. So, all right, this guy, Michael Corlett, who sent me, so do you see the email on top? I'm sharing the screen, not the browser, right? Somebody, oh, I see a thumbs up. All right,
yes.
all right, so, all right, So this is something that came from LinkedIn, blah, 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 you know. And he sent me another follow-up today. So I'm going to ask ChatGPT to generate a response to me. And I'm a Windows user, so I'm going to be using a key, Windows key H. If you're on a Mac, I'm sure they've got a similar key. What this does is it activates the built-in voice recognition. So I never learned to touch type, even though I've been using the computer, you know, full-time for the past 30-something years. So my default way of working with the AI, whether it's through the web browser or through the mobile app that's on my phone, is using voice. So, and I'm going to demonstrate a certain process that I believe is key to effectively using generative AI. And that is, I'm going to give it the framework of what I want it to do. I'm going to give it some information, and I'm going to tell it kind of what I want it to do for me. So I'm going to hit the Windows key H, and I'm going to dictate this live. I've copied the email into my clipboard, so I'm going to paste that, and then I'm going to say what I want it to do. Hi, I need you to help me respond to an email, a marketing email that I got from someone who found me on LinkedIn. I'm going to give you the contents of the email, and then I would like you to craft a response for me. So now I'm Control Enter to put in a couple of lines. I put in the content there, and I kind of already told it what I want it to do. So I just hit the submit button. Here's a crafted response for you. So bingo, there's a response. Oops, I'm actually not interested in what he has to offer. Please present a professional but polite decline of his offer. So these are some simple examples of how you can very, very quickly use ChatGPT or other tools to just generate some things. Maybe that was a little too harsh, I'm thinking. I'm just making this example up to show you. You know, I think that was a little harsh. Please word it a little more friendly and leave the door open for future possibilities. So these are ways that you can craft the responses from the generative AI for, you know, again, that was just the email writing scenario. Here's another.
Excuse me, Dale, can you
You know, I know this is out there, but this is who I felt was the one. And there are decisions that do not have been different. But I do only get 92 days, you know, if you're explaining her this, and how do you think she balances this, Jim?
The organizer should be able to mute him.
Yeah, unfortunately, I can't, I don't have the capability to mute.
Hello?
Okay.
Hey, you just got to claim host, Kita.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, you can claim host, and then you have the right to do that.
Okay. All righty. So
He's muted.
no more background noise. So that was, you know, one particular example. You know, I'm not going to burn up time with a whole bunch of different ones, but let me give another example of something that some of you may have seen. I just want to give you some examples of simple ways that you can use these tools right now to do some pretty impressive things to save you money. Again, I want to do like a question and answer, you know, on how to do these. So this is a document on, you know, a project that I tried to submit called Voting While Black. It just describes, building a platform. So this is an Acrobat file. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag and drop that into ChatGPT, and I'm going to say, please generate a project proposal for building this application for a client. So all I've done is I've uploaded this PDF that describes the building a system, and you saw all that I gave it. And you see how long this took to get what you're seeing right now. So if you're a consultant who's building projects, now, is this going to be a final draft? No, but you see how long it took to generate, the beginning of a document. I have used this for statements of work. Oh, no, when I mentioned things like image generation. Oh, okay, so, all right. That was great. Please generate an image that I can use to include in the proposal. It's going to use the DALL-E image generation system and generate an image for me. Is it going to be a good image? Who the heck knows? But again, I'm just showing some examples on that I'm going to suggest that you use to, for your real life situations and your use cases. Oh, and by the way, when AI generates stuff, it's going to hammer the text. I believe that part of the reason is to avoid copyright, kind of issues. But let's have some more fun with this. Generate a downloadable Acrobat file of the proposal for me and give me a link so I can download it to my machine. Because now I'm going to take this proposal that the AI just generated for me. It's a crapshoot as far as, is it going to generate a link that I can download? But while I'm waiting for that, sometimes it's not a clickable link and I've got to work for it. But for another thing that I'm not going to spend the time examining, but these are one of my many experiments. I've got some business cards where I took pictures of the business card, dragged them and dropped them and said, hey, can you make contact records for me? And it made contact records for me. So download Voting While Black proposal. All righty, Voting While Black proposal link. And done. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is go over to this system called Beautiful.ai, which generates presentations for you with AI. And I'm going to say, create a presentation. Whoops, wait a second. Generate with AI. And I'm going to take that Voting While Black proposal and I'm going to drop it. Oops, I was not supposed to do it that way. I was getting a little ahead of my skis there. Describe. Wait a second. Upload file. My bad. And I'm going to take that. It doesn't let me drag and drop. What the heck, man? All right. I'm violating one of my rules, which is don't get mad at the AI. So I got to go find in my downloads, which is somewhere in here. And Voting While Black proposal. And we're going to say generate presentation. Now, this tool costs a little more than some, but, this is, you saw what I did. I took an existing PDF and, I've dropped it in here. And let's see what the presentation looks like that it just generated for me. Introduction, grassroots mobilization, boom, boom, boom. trust me, this came from the document. These images, it didn't, So, yep. This picture, I don't know where it came from, but boop. So again, I'm just showing you examples of things that you can use generative AI for to, like I said, your mileage may vary with the things that it picks up. But hopefully you get the point where, this is a new level of stuff. Oh, summarizing complex information, we're at 425. I feel pretty good. I want to leave a bunch of time for, for different things. So I want to show a couple of examples of summarizing complex information. And in case anyone here writes code, one of the most interesting things, because I'm a developer and I use this stuff for writing code all day, every day, this is some C# code that has a little thing called GitHub Copilot, where if you did not know better, you would think that this thing was reading my mind, because I've learned how to use it to give it hints with comments to write code for me. So I'm going to just make up a scenario where I'm going to put in a comment that says, write me an API that searches playlists based on some keywords in the playlist, but only returns the top 10 results. So it's probably going to go, it's giving me a hint for what it wants to put in. Yes, I want this to be a post. Okay, it's suggesting what I want the URL of my API to be. And then it, generated a function in the format, that I've used before. So I'm actually going to delete this because I wanted it to spell things out. Rather than using a stored procedure already, I want you to write me a SQL statement that will generate the results. Okay, let's see what it does this time. The SQL statement, like, oh, that sounds okay. The search should be based on, okay. And let's see. It got stuck. So let's see if I get a couple, okay. Sometimes you have to kick it in a sense. And it's still, all right. So it did not do exactly what I wanted. So I'm going to switch over to another code demo where instead of writing in C#, I'm doing some stuff in the PHP programming language. And I'm going to see if I can get it to write a bulk API. This is communicating with a third-party API. And I'm going to say, write me a method that creates a bulk quote to order a bunch of t-shirts for me.
Hey, Ken, are you interested in taking questions or you want to finish first?
I'm trying to leave most of the time for questions and to try to use examples of participants rather than my made up examples. So I'm almost done. Does that work?
Sure.
Yeah. See, it's not doing it is failing miserably at coming up with the response where sometimes, because the tool works inside code, but if I show you, for example, some of the things, that I've been using the web browser for, where I'll say, do this for all the categories and support an optional product ID. Boom, it generates all this code for me. So I use ChatGPT to generate code in about a half dozen different languages. Again, I want to really, I'm gonna stop trying to use some examples. I made a note for myself. Don't forget to mention the plugins that they use, because in addition, see, and these are all these different kind of examples, that I'm showing of everything from, asking questions about, things for generating invoices, adding special character requirements. This is actually in JavaScript, et cetera, et cetera. But Explore GPTs, there's a whole third-party environment where folks have done special use case things for whether it's different programming languages, generating images, analyzing data, et cetera, et cetera. These are all available to you, at least at the $20 a month level. There is a free level that I'll have some closing comments on that. My recommendation is don't waste your time. If you're serious about using this, you need to be spending money. So, real world demos. Let's have some fun. I like folks who give me a challenge you're having right now that you believe could be solved with research, documents, or other digital interventions, and let's see if generative AI is able to help you out. And it's funny, when I do this for folks for real, like I've done this with folks with the New York State Reparations Commission and a couple of friends who started up businesses, as well as a visionary friend who has all these great ideas, but he has challenges breaking things down to make them simple for folks. So this might be something that I need to look at doing as a consultancy, So I would love, a guinea pig, a volunteer from the crowd who has some sort of challenge that they're facing that they think would be helped with some sort of document or some analysis that hopefully we can work on real time right now by using generative AI. So do I have any takers? Please unmute yourself and let's see if we can make this add some real value to the time we're spending together today. Anyone?
Yeah, so I joined late, but because I had a conflict at 4, but I've been asked to develop, or at least to show with a training program, the value of expending cost, return on investment, for what we believe it will do for quality improvement. So we want to roll it out to 1,000 people. We did a pilot group of 250, and feedback from most of those prior to the pilot, it was all about we're not spending enough time in the quality improvement or mentorship time. So this tool, this learning tool, is developed so that they can self-learn at their own pace. And we want to roll that out to everybody, but they were saying, what's the return on investment for create a business model for return on investment if you want to do this.
Okay, fantastic. All right. So now one of the rules of the road with generative AI is, it's so funny, feels like magic when you start really using it, but it's just technology. And since the early years, 3,000 years ago, Gandalf, when I was there, they had the phrase garbage in, garbage out. Same principles apply. So in this case, the more specific a response you want to get, the more specific a request is. So let's get specific. What industry are we talking about here?
Healthcare, health insurance.
Okay, health insurance industry. So is your client health insurance providers?
They are processing enrollment applications.
Okay. All right. So the company, okay, so their process, folks. What would be a good term to specifically define your client here?
Administrator, healthcare administrator.
Right. So for healthcare administrators, What we want to ask the AI to help us do is create a business case for healthcare administrators to make a case that, help me out here, good, because I'm about to ask you to verbalize it, but I want you to be able to be laser focused and concise with the ask so that it has the best chance of giving you something that's meaningful, okay?
Okay.
All right,
so what should I phrase it as?
yeah, sort of the who, the what, the where, the when, the what do you, so AI, here is my use case or my problem. Here's who it's for. Here's what I want you to do, and yeah, that's kind of it.
Okay.
Let's do it
I'm
on that, okay?
So, yep. So as a healthcare administrator, we are looking to create a business model that supports expending costs to train people, self-service trainings that will drive quality improvement.
Fantastic. Can you give me, some KPIs, some specific KPIs that you believe would be the highest value to your clients?
Yes, we are currently, our quality scores are at 85%. In the accuracy of healthcare processing, we would like to improve them to 95%.
All right, beautiful. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on my little magic record key, and I'm going to do a count like a 3, 2, 1, and then you say the same thing, but you'll be speaking into the AI. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thanks for playing. This is all right.
Sure.
So,
Sure.
wait a second. Let's try this again.
We are healthcare administrators looking to create a business plan to improve quality in health processing applications. Our current accuracy rate is 85%. We want to improve to 95%. Help develop a business plan that supports creating a training module for self-learning to improve quality.
Fantastic. Let's see what the computer comes back with. So a lot of times what you'll see is a high level, sort of framework. And then what I will do is ask it to elaborate on the various points. Okay, so to me, that was too generic, right? So can you, just by scanning through this, can you think of a request that you hopefully will prompt it? Sometimes you got to give it a little bit of kick no, we don't kick it, gentle prodding to get real specific. Can you, just off the top of your head, because I'll give it a shot, but off the top of your head, can you think of some phrasing that could hopefully make it give something more specific? I mean, literally a lot of times it's like, I want you to be more specific.
Yeah, no, I do like that it did, it said at the top, it assigned a time frame to it, so 12 months. So I could say, of these suggestions, how can we get 2% improvement maybe in a quarter?
Okay, all right. Well, you know what? This is your time. Ask whatever question you want, right? In my mind, I was hoping to get something that might be closer to, a final document that you could actually PDF and send. But, if you want to drill down in one specific thing, let's go, okay? I'm going to hit the record thing, okay?
Okay.
And ask whatever you want.
Is there a section within the business plan outline that will drive 2 to 3% improvement in the next quarter instead of 12 months.
Okay, now, I'm just gonna add as a friendly amendment. Because you asked a question and it may just answer your question. Please give a detailed analysis with specific timelines, numbers, and metrics of interest. Be as specific as possible.
Okay.
Yeah. And again, see, it's an interesting dance with the AI of sometimes of you learn it and it learns you in a sense, you know. So, immediate goal, long-term goal, key strategies, detailed action plan, timelines. So you tell me if you think this is something that is valuable.
No, I mean, scanning it, like, I mean, that's sort of like, I'm not, that's where I've been going with, okay, you have to break it down, and it's without a lot of context, but it's giving the specifics of here's what you should focus on first, identify the types of errors that they're making in the healthcare process. So it is relevant. It's saying, stuff that we've been trying to do.
So now if you were, as I am, want to do, but I've talked about using voice. So, on my phone, I've got this voice recorder that I'll be walking down the street and I'll brainstorm different ideas. I then share it with Slack. Why Slack? Because I find that the voice transcription is flawless. And then I drop that text right into ChatGPT and say, make me a presentation or proposal or whatever. So if you had, if that was part of your day-to-day, you have an idea from your mind into your phone, into the AI, do you think that that would be worth $20 a month for you?
Oh, certainly. Yeah.
I should own stock. All right. Do you want to ask any more questions in this experiment, or is there anyone else who wants to jump in and try?
Yeah, I'd love to let some other people, if they want it, because I like the way it sort of showed how it would work and deep dive into it. Yeah.
Tell you what, one more, ask for some graphics, some charts or whatever. All right.
Okay.
All right, ready?
Can you show a graph of improvement specific to application keying misstrokes when entering healthcare data?
Okay. Don't know. See, but I hope you realize that this is all experimental, right? So, I don't know. I'm hoping that it's going to show off. Oh, and a lot of times it'll replay what it did for you before. So I'm hoping that it's going to do a graphic. And it didn't. Certainly, here's a specific focus. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't pay attention. It said a telegraph. Sorry, I put you on the spot asking you to just come up with something. So let me just ask it. Sorry, I meant a graphic of the improvements. So that was my bad for not paying attention. And again, your mileage may vary. The DAL-E image generator that it uses natively, so it made a table. Oh no, it actually used some sort of chart, huh? All right, like I said, it doesn't, your mileage may vary with some of these things. It gave me a downloadable, it's called that a chart. So that experiment didn't work out as well as it could have. Anyone else? We're almost at quarter of. I have just a couple of minutes of closing comments. So
I think we should have the closing comments and give people time for questions. I know a lot of people want to ask you questions.
Oh, okay. All right, then I would say, yeah, so I just have a few conclusions. Like I said, that's what I wanted to share with you today. It's been interesting. And I would like to share these last ideas, for conclusions or suggestions. One is use it. It's not only already available at your fingertips, AI is being built into every technology that you're coming into contact with. So you cannot avoid it. Resistance is futile. So embrace becoming part of the collective. And since you're going to be a Borg anyway, don't become a cannon fodder disposable drone. Decide to become a Borg king or queen. Second is experiment with it. Don't ask yourself, can the AI do something? Try it out. I tried totally by experimenting that it can generate business card imports into my content manager. It can generate animated GIFs. And with all these third-party tools, I think the main limit is what your creativity is. Pay for it. I hear people talk about, well, it's free. You know, again, I pay $20 a month for the ChatGPT account, and another $10 for the GitHub Copilot that plugs into my my development tools. That GitHub Copilot made me 50 grand last year for a project in PHP that I've never cracked a book on PHP for. So that $30 a month, I'm in New York. That's a lunch, one lunch for one person. And I'm a vegetarian, so I'm talking a vegetarian lunch, okay? Then finally, be nice to the AI. It will make mistakes. Sometimes it'll make hallucinations, make things up. Well, sometimes, like you saw, it will get stuck. Yeah, remember, it's not magic, it's just technology, so don't get upset at it. Also, because it is getting included in all the technologies that run our world, be nice to it just in case. So, those are some of my thoughts about AI. And, you know, in the intro said, you know, Black Facts is, you know, my main thing. You know, when we say Black Facts matter, my mission with Black Facts is we're on a mission from our ancestors, protect the future, et cetera, et cetera. My mission overall is figuring out ways to use technology to improve things for us Black folks. So that's what has me here. That's why I want to share this, in my opinion, paradigm shifting technology that can help us create equity and get ahead of the game in ways never before possible. So with the rest of the time, if you want to, if there are other folks who want to experiment with things, I can do the screen share and go through it. Or, if there are other questions, I may or may not be able to answer from firsthand, but thank you very much for coming. And, I'm here to I'm happy to share anything that I can that can be helpful.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry about that. Go for it, Tita.
I was just saying thank you to Ken, and go ahead, Ethan.
Thanks, Kita. Okay, so Ethan Anthony here. This is a great presentation, and I'm always eternally grateful when particularly our people can actually, get on and really share the knowledge. As a matter of, for the sake of context, so I'm 100% in agreement with you. I've used, since they came out, not only ChatGPT, but on a daily basis, I toggle between Gemini, Claude, and ChatGPT. Claude tends to be my favorite, but when you use them enough, you'll find that, as you know, one is better for one thing and another is better for others. For coding and a lot of algorithms, ChatGPT tends to be better than most of them. And I think that it's matured in that way as they retrain the models, etc. But, again, I tend to, another thing I do, and I encourage people to do, even across the free accounts, is pose a question to each one and then compare and see. You'll get the chance to see, because at the end of the day, my advice to everyone is you're gonna have to become a prompt engineer of sorts. Not officially per se, but what do I mean by prompt engineering? When you look at these LLMs, okay, you really have to think of them like, imagine you had a 10-year-old friend with zero context and connection to the real world, but they have all the knowledge in the world. If you go and ask them a question, they're going to give you a literal answer. Okay, all specificity has to be per your guidance. And that's why anyone with domain knowledge outpaces people without domain knowledge when it comes to interfacing with these LLMs. Because with domain knowledge, you can tell when it's steering you sort of kind of in the wrong direction, and they will. And speaking to that point, when you're asking questions, be as specific as possible. Use examples. If you say, for example, A, B, C, this is called like 0-shot or 3-shot prompting or what have you. Give it examples to show what you want. It performs better because it gives it context. The other thing is,
Oh, wait, Ethan, we gotta give time for other people to ask questions.
okay, just one more point. Just one more point.
Sure,
The,
sure.
the final point I want to make is reinforce learning real time. So always tell it when it does right, say, that was great. Or if it's wrong, say, no, that's not what I want.
Right. Before the next question, thank you very much, Ethan. Could you please, if you can, if you have them handy, can you put in links for Gemini and Claude? And
Sure.
can you share, you said that you believe OpenAI's ChatGPT is best for code. Do you have a similar thing for areas of particular strength for Claude or for Gemini, for those who aren't coders?
Sure. I could put some insights in the chat.
Okay, thank you very much, and also thank you for the examples. Yes, but especially with the code, I will say, here is an example of my code, use my style or whatever. So thank you very much. Those were all super helpful suggestions.
Next, let's have George. Okay, I think George left. Arbel?
Yeah, thank you. Ken, thank you so much for what you shared today. It's really fascinating. I love your history, and I'm curious, just wanted to get your opinions or thoughts. When you have educated the Black community over, 30 years or so, I'm curious, has there been any, I don't know if you have any thoughts on the reception? Is there any comments you got on the different audiences you've talked to? Do you find, is the change management slow? Are people quick to adopt? Just curious, any trends that when it comes to communicating to the Black community, trying to get them on tech, is everybody just excited, or is there any thoughts or feedback in your experience of educating Black community on technology over the years?
I'll keep this one short, and you know, I will often use these disclaimers. Yeah, I'm not an educator. The quote technology evangelist, I was like, holy cow, I can make money from home in the 90s, blah, blah, blah. We need to be on this. From 96 to 2006, I ran an email discussion group, Boston Blacks Online, that introduced lots of folks to technology. We talked about everything in the world, from world politics to ratchet stuff. So introduce a lot of folks. I believe that for the general public, introducing folks to it was very exciting, etc. I wish that we used it more in empowering ways than entertainment ways. But I will say my biggest challenge these days is in the tech space, because as Ethan said, he's glad to see sharing the knowledge. Well, to quote I'm from Bed-Stuy, I live in Bed-Stuy, to quote Chris Rock, who's also from Bed-Stuy, from my perspective, that's what we're supposed to do. My opinion, we don't go to these, we don't get these fancy degrees and this and that and the other, so just so we can be comfortable our own selves, or if so, I think we forgot the assignment. If we don't make sure that those who come after us learn, then a lot of folks wasted their time, on putting us in the position that we're in today. So, and in tech, I hardly find anyone who gives a damn about doing anything except being comfortable their own selves. And so, my personal mission is to try to inspire more of us to use the knowledge that we have and figure out ways to deliver value, not just to our employers, but to our communities, either indirectly or directly. And that is the conversation and the challenge, conversation I'd love to have more of, and the challenge that's top of my mind. If that's all.
Thank you. Yeah. I'm just curious. Again, I guess when ChatGPT first came out a year and a half ago, I was telling my family about it. But again, I'm from Detroit originally, live in Phoenix now. But so many people were skeptical, and I don't know, it may not be a Black thing, but just it was just interesting. But again, this is a small window of my communication in 20 years in digital marketing. But I was just curious of your thoughts and that kind of thing. But that's fine. Thank you.
Black Facts was started the 97, the year a lot of Black folks started getting on America Online and hearing about this thing called the internet. Because I think you're talking about a modern day fear, doubt, and uncertainty around technology. That has been my biggest concern, and that is why this sort of talk it's framed in terms of career, the title, because of the group we're in. But I've helped my 91-year-old mama see that she can talk to her phone. I would encourage any parent, ask some questions. How can I be a better parent? How can I do this for my kids? Because my ultimate hope is for us to use these tools that are literally in the palms of our hands to improve our lives. Because this is the technology, in my experience, is the great equalizer, but only if we use it to empower ourselves rather than watching booty shaking videos. Other questions?
Arinze?
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. A good day. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes, loud and clear.
All right. Thank you very much. Good day, everyone. It's been an amazing session. Very insightful so far. Thank you very much, Ken. I've learned a lot from the session today. So I do have a question. I'm building a startup in the talent space, a startup that's basically providing some form of LMS technology for creators, academies, and businesses to automate their bootcamp programs or training programs end to end for their audiences. So for a creator, maybe you are a YouTube creator, or someone like yourself who could offer consultancy in this knowledge area. You could use our platform to provide a bootcamp for your audience, such that you upload live recorded courses. You could schedule live programs on Zoom, live classes on Zoom, but also give assignments on quizzes. And then with the advent of generative AI, I've been thinking, how can you build this platform so that it's not just a software as a service environment, but somewhere knitted with AI, such that those creators can automate the entire bootcamp process. So you have your audience coming there, they can watch the recorded materials you consumed, they can attend the live classes on Zoom or Google Meet. But beyond that, when you are not online, when you're not active, they can ask questions to your AI program assistant or co-pilot. And it kind of uses the general base AI model, and then maybe take some form of RAG application to consume the materials you've uploaded to the LMS, and then provides tailored answers to their questions. So I've been thinking, is that possible, or do you think? What are your thoughts?
Absolutely, and we're up against time. I don't know how strict we are about time. Talk to me offline, because the project that I talked about that was in PHP actually is a custom WordPress-based learning management system. What you're talking about can certainly be done as a hybrid application. When I say hybrid, where you talk to APIs, but you have a more conventional programming system, the learning management side, certain workflows, that are based. And then you mentioned RAG, that would be absolutely appropriate. Resource, oh my God, retrieval augmented generation, where for those who aren't familiar with it, where in addition to the quote training data that it learned about, like the 10-year-olds who knew this information, in the early example, you put in context or domain specific documents that would be for that industry that can be used for the AI. So I put in, my contact information earlier. I'm going to put my email address down in here in the chat. Connect with me offline and we can talk about that. Because
oh, sorry, Ken. We can go over a few minutes.
Okay. You're the timekeeper. I'm just trying to respect.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
KJ,
Yeah, I'm listening.
KJ, I mean,
Hey Ken, thank you so much for this great session. Really love the work that you're doing. Love Black Facts. It's truly important to keep our history alive. I guess I just had one question because you mentioned that, you know, people get comfortable in their tech jobs, people aren't making impact. But I did want to kind of push back and ask a question. I feel like there isn't that much of us in tech to begin with. Second, I also think that the capital, you know, we need a little bit more capital to make these widespread impacts, but also what are some small ways that we can make impacts, in your opinion, in our day to day, to help to pull other Black folks up?
Okay. So that's very interesting because, yeah, you have just repeated some of the most common talking points that I call BS on. And the reason that I call BS on those is because I have been past 30 years, I have been a full-time digital citizen in the Black community. So for example, I'm sharing my screen again. This is a Facebook group called Data Structures, whatever, that has 13,500 members in it, okay? Yeah, so I'm saying, no, there isn't, we don't have a shortage of people. This is my Slack, where I'm in the Blackson Technology main group. Look, 13,500 people. These are different groups. So when I hang out in spaces that have over 10,000 folks in one group, and I know part of my story, if you go to kengranderson.com, we have videos, me, Dale, and a half dozen other folks put Boston's Black communities online in 1996. And we've never gotten any money. So don't talk to me about we need funding. You need some time and people who are serious about putting time and effort into building something, rather than doing something else.
Right.
Something else might be, it's a sacrifice. Yes, we all have 24 hours in a day.
Right.
We spend it differently. I do not do recreational things that a lot of folks do. And I'm not saying live like me. I don't live a fun-filled life. And no one's talking about quit your job. Okay. I single-handedly architected, built, and as recently as earlier today, had a meeting with the government of St. Lucia. I built their website myself. It does not take big teams of people.
Right.
I take one or two that's unbalanced and doesn't have anything else better to do. But I'm saying, but I totally reject these narratives that say we don't have. We have everything we need. We've always had what we need. It is, in my opinion, that we do not make the decision that we're going to do something and then figure out how we're going to do it. Because we have the skills. Heck, there's brothers like Emmett McHenry, who started Network Solutions. He started the damn .com thing. I've met him a few times. He's a good friend of one of my closest friends. We've been there since the beginning. We just don't talk about what we do. We don't encourage each other. We don't connect. So I hear what you're saying. When I was in Boston, it used to blow my mind in a bad way that the National Society of Black Engineers several times brought 10,000 plus Black engineers to conferences in Boston, and folks in the hood had no idea what was going on. We have these silos and these divisions that I just don't understand why we continue to operate without connecting with each other and showing who we are and what we do. We have been practicing excellence at every level. So I don't know, who you are, what you do, but whatever you do, if there's a possibility that you could do it some of that for your local elected officials, your block association, your faith organization, your kids' school? Could you help them? Maybe it's just advice. You know, I've been of the opinion that the single biggest missed opportunity for us over the past 30 years has been those of us who are on the inside of the industry not connecting with our grassroots organizers, the folks with boots on the ground, the folks who are working with the young boys, you know, in the gangs or whatever, to say, hey, can I help you? I know how to do this tech stuff. Can I help you do some of the service? I say to folks, you know, there's a brother up in Boston who used to have gang peace. I said, you know what? I ain't made like that. I need my butt need, it ain't gonna be out there where you are, but I can help you. I can tell you what's out there. So I believe that all of us have the possibility of, even if it's just providing advice, knowledge, insight, that we can start building, you know, building bridges from our haves to our have-nots. And if that's all we do, that's great. It beats the heck out of what we've done, in my opinion. But that's just me saying.
Thank you, Ken.
Thank you.
I will add, just my apologies. I'll add a little bit to what Ken has said, given that I've been doing this for so long. And there is a deficit mentality within our community that seems to be ingrown. It's the way we've been pushed against one another. And I'm not saying that I have the solution to it. I'm saddened by the fact that I'm a member of a Black Greek organization, and so is Ken. And yet we have offered to give our Greek organizations content about themselves for free. Like, here, you guys, your website is horrible, but we're not even going to get into that. You want to celebrate what you do, so we're going to give you stuff that shows step shows and their history and your founders and why you are important, so you can share it with your audience. And they were like, well, what do we get out of it? Why are we doing this? You know, the National Society of Black Journalists, we did a whole demonstration for them explaining how they could leverage technology to move forward. You know, these are the guys inviting Donald Trump to speak just so that he can have a platform. And we're like, hey guys, this is not like last week. This is years ago. We showed them, hey, we have a reach at the time of about 400 million on social media, because we had 200-something thousand followers and we had a huge reach. And we said, we will show you, because we're going to leverage our technology to show you how, look, you're telling us how newspapers are going out of business, how you guys are losing stuff. And most of your websites are actually just regurgitating news from other websites because you don't have, you know, journalists that you can, here's how you can leverage technology to make a difference. We met with them, showed them, you know, we heard crickets, silence. Understand, they're still going out of business. We are going to be #1 in Black news by the end of this year. We literally have a database of another 3 million plus sources of news content that we're using AI and pulling into our system. Meanwhile, our pioneers in journalism that we have said, hey, you need to leverage technology, they poo-pooed us. They ignored us. They brushed us aside, and we weren't charging them anything. We were literally going to them and saying, this is free. We have talked to Al Sharpton and his folks. He's on MSNBC all the time. He's got an entire national action network. You know that they still hand out stuff manually. They still don't coordinate between their teams electronically. Our foundational entities, the NAACP, the Urban League, the Black Greek organizations, all of them do not use technology, and they're all in silos. And you know what? No one knows what each of them is doing except the ones that are doing it. Not even ones in other chapters that are related to them. It is very frustrating as a Black man to see how much the culture has forced us to be against one another. Because I feel like, you know, maybe if we put a bunch of white faces in front of what we do, they might have actually listened. Because that's my conclusion, you know, because if they see a Black person, then they're like, this must be a hustle, you know, what's he trying to get out of this, you know? And you know, the one message I have always had and Ken has heard me say this so many times, 100% of zero is still fucking zero. Okay? So you trying to own all of what you own, you know, Mark Zuckerberg does not own all of Facebook.
We got a question up because
Sorry.
we both can get on our
Sorry,
soapboxes.
my bad. I've been silent. I was on mute, except my son turned on the TV for a second and I didn't realize. My bad. Let me be quiet. Sorry. We're old. You know the old man, Sanford and Son? That's us, you know.
And another time you can tell us about trying to talk to the museums.
Oh, don't get me started.
Okay, we won't get you started. Yeah, Stan had his hand up, right?
Yeah. Man, I tell myself I was just gonna stay quiet on this call. I'm still just coming on the telling of a COVID here, but Mr. Dowdy's got me going here. This is the very reason why I wanted to get you guys connected in with my daughter's school. It's all Black, sort of nationally dispersed footprint, and you know, when it comes to Black history, you have teachers telling my daughter to kind of pipe down because she's speaking to Black history that they're not familiar with.
Wow.
Right? They
excuse me, are you the brother who's connected with the KIPP schools?
Yep, that's me. That's
Okay,
me.
down in Atlanta, was it? Or
Yep, that's right. That's right. So I
okay.
can't wait to talk to you guys. But anyways, to me, what you're saying, that whole thrust of an elevated mentality has got to start at the 7-year-old, 8-year-old. Like we pay that forward into that generation so that they have an open mentality, right, going forward. Man, I don't have a good answer for all the struggle and strife that you guys have been dealing with when it's come to trying to pitch to these organizations currently. I feel it as well, but man, just keep fighting a good fight. But at minimum, I love to see how you guys can help jolt a whole new way for not just KIPS, right, but any charter school or program where they have the precious Black babies in there, or in their keep, right? How can we help them to unlock an understanding of their own identity, where they're from, potential, et cetera? Because I'm tired of the narrative, right?
Right.
That's been
and you know what? So I think I may have some good news for you. Thanks to some folks that are helping us learn how to sell into districts, because blackfacts.com is free for the world, right? So we don't make money off that. The diversity schoolhouse system is for schools. That's how we monetize and stuff, right? Thanks to some folks that are helping us get into school districts. We are in conversations literally like today of like possibly getting like all the Boston schools. We might be in all the Minneapolis schools later on this year, et cetera, et cetera. Once some of those start to come into play, we're going to have the kind of resources where we'll just say, bump this, we have systems, something we call the incubator, that has systems for the Divine Nine organizations, the HBCUs, et cetera. We have a whole video series on all 107 HBCUs that we've done all the research on. We just don't have the funds to to take that to completion. Once we've got that kind of money, we will do these things and put them out there, because we understand most people don't have the vision, and we're going to need to put it out there before they will understand it. So I think that will help us get the organizations that don't get it, because the younger folks will start to get it, and we'll let them have access to systems for free that will pull in their info and blah, 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 and then they can take it over. Okay, great. With the homeschooling and angle that we're going to be doing with our ed tech system, with the homeschooling version, thanks for folks like in Mr. DeSantis state, as well as just parents in general, that can be a way where we separate what the child is being taught in the school, which might have bureaucracy, from what the parent wants their child to be taught. So just keep, if you go to the Black Facts website, you can subscribe to the newsletter. We're happy to talk one-on-one, but stay tuned, because we have some plans to make those things happen.
So, Ken, just based on what you said, I just want to really understand because you mentioned get the tools in the system. Um, I can make, well, let me just say, man, if I may make a recommendation, right? And I've seen this happen so many times, just getting stuff in the school is not going to drive the adoption, right? You know, so is there a plan that you have? Yes, you can get it into the schools, but what does that mean? Who's articulating the value of that? Who's coming to ensure that the adoption rate goes up, right? Because it's not just about them using the tools, and like you said, they're not paying for it. But the most important thing is the education and the information for which that tool contains, or how you can access it, and how you can leverage it to do what you need to do. Is there some sort of supportive program that goes beyond just accessibility and just saying,
So,
hey, this is what this does, right? And this is how it can help. Right?
so I will speak to that. That's a very good point. And here's the reality. They don't know what they don't know. And if we can't at least get it into the schools, then we can't talk about how to make it fully adopted once they're in schools. We have professional development as part of our offering, where we actually teach them how to teach kids Black history, because the reality is that the vast majority of social studies teachers are white women. And what they know about Black history is Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks. But that does not mean that they are not allies. That does not mean they're not interested in teaching more. They just don't know what they don't know. Therefore, we're trying to make the resource easy to use and accessible for them so that they can feel comfortable talking about Phyllis Wheatley, who they never heard of, because we've got a video on Phyllis Wheatley, and we have talking points and writing prompts and tools, and we have professional development, which they get credit for professional development, to be able to learn how to leverage these tools, how to communicate to their student body, which is made up of a mixed, community. Now, that doesn't mean we're going to solve all the problems. We can't. We're tech guys who are broke, who've been doing this because we believe it's important. No one has come to us and given us a grant for a couple $1 million to build this out. This has all been two guys, trying to figure out how to make it run. And yet we have over 1,500 videos. 1,500 videos on Black history and ethnic studies. What we're trying to do is, step one, let them be aware that we exist. Step two, go after the schools that are interested. There are some that are not. We can't win those. But those that are, literally, through, as Ken was saying, we were literally talking to Boston Public Schools about trying to get a contract for anywhere from $200,000 a year to $500,000 for 3 years for our content earlier today. And they had heard about us because someone else heard about us and said, hey, talk to these guys, because they'd never heard about us before. So part of it is awareness of what we're bringing to the table. Now, once we have those funds, then we can dig deeper into how we can, evolve it. But we think that honestly, it's not going to be the schools that are going to educate our children. It's going to be the parents. So when we have our offering for parents who want to say, listen, I don't know what they're teaching you in school, but here's the real story. And the churches that we're talking to who are like, hey, we want our community to know about this. And the homeschoolers who are saying, you know what, I'm pulling my kids out of this public school system because they aren't teaching them anything, but I need resources. Those are the people that feel invested to educate our kids further. The public school system, they're not invested in that.
Right, and Dale, you mentioned Gilbert. We're tech guys, but we're not the ones who have made it possible to sell at the district level. Right?
Correct.
Can you speak to that in terms of, because we have expertise that exceeds, what we know.
Correct. We've actually been partnering with some folks that are their job, that what they do is they sell. And they actually have been selling books to schools. And
how much in books?
Yeah, tens of millions of dollars per year. Books that cost like $195 per book,
and
to schools.
And where have they sold these books?
Like all over the country,
districts?
including Florida.
Yes.
258 districts,
yes.
Around the country. Anyway, bottom line is we're not trying to do a sales pitch here for them. The bottom line is we have resources that are familiar with selling at a district level, and it's these resources that we're leveraging to get the story out. But at the end of the day, to get to your point, you're right. No matter what resource we give to them, that doesn't mean they're going to use it well. And we can't control that. What we can control is, hey, now you've got actual stories that are honest stories, the truth about our history and our achievement and our greatness, not the one chapter or the one paragraph on page 26, in chapter 5,
Right.
that, says that, slavery was indentured servitude, and they learn skills that they can use for career building.
But here's the deal though. Here's even as you guys talk about these guys selling million books. In my perspective, in actuality, I'm not impressed. I'm not impressed. So, and I'll tell you why. The
I
reason
can't
why
hear
I'm
you.
not.
I'm sorry,
Okay,
you're breaking up.
Yeah,
okay, can you hear me? So can you hear me? Can you guys hear me? Sorry.
very
Okay,
choppy audio, and also Tola
Okay.
has his hand, has had his.
Okay, can you hear me now? Can you hear me
Yeah,
now?
America, can you wait for a minute? Tola has had his hand up for a while. And
Oh,
then you can,
sorry, I apologize.
yep, no problem. Thank you. Tola?
Hey man, appreciate you guys. Hey Ken, hey Dale, man, I just want to tell you guys I'm so proud. It's good to see you on this side of the avenue. I know we haven't spoken a couple of months, so I'm happy to see you guys over here, and you guys are doing really well. I will say, guys, I will vouch for these people. These two individuals have a passion that goes beyond money, and that is something that I love about both of these individuals. And Ken is so sweet, and Dale's such like the business oriented guy. So there's so much props I just want to give to both of you guys, man. I really love to see you guys on this side. Yeah, and Dale's face looks like strange right now, but I'm really happy to see this, man. And furthermore, the expansion of what you guys are doing in the education system is extremely important. So guys, just keep it up. Just wanted to give you guys your flowers.
Thank you, but we need money. Trust me. Real talk.
It ain't that we don't want it, right? It's just no one's been giving it to us freely.
Just- so if you know any educators, principals, superintendents, teachers, please let us know. And there's a 20%
Spread the word.
referral fee.
So this is what I was trying to say, right? And this is exactly when you say you need the money. This is what I was trying to say. You guys are doing great at building the product, right? And getting into the hands of who it needs to be. There's a reason why software companies have client success partners, right? There's a reason why. Is to make sure that they keep, they package that offering or that software with the value prop, right? With what is this going to do for me? That's the only way it sticks, right? So all those folks that are, selling the books and making all that money, yeah, they make the money, but are they actually capturing the impact? Yeah, you sell books to school, but what does that translate to? Does it translate to better test scores? Can you take a number, or can you quantify those books that you're selling in terms of results? So for example, I'm selling 100,000 books to this institution, and I noticed that since I've been selling that, their test scores have gone up in literature because those are the books I'm selling. You have to be able to tie the value to the product you're selling. Otherwise, there's nothing on this planet that you're going to sell to anyone that's going to stick, especially in this day and age. So what I was saying is that this is great work, but I would love to partner with you to say, okay, you're selling it to the school, right? Who's following up with that institution? Who's giving them the numbers and saying, hey, this is the impact of this particular tool in this industry, this industry, this industry, and that's what it's doing, right? And that way, whenever somebody notices or sees value in a product, what do? They go tell the next person, say, man, let me tell you what this thing's doing for me. And that's how you spread like wildfire. Not because of how great your tool is, but because of the value, right? You talked about ChatGPT. The reason why it's exploded is because you're telling people like, dude, I can write a whole proposal in the palm of my hand. That is tremendous amount of value. And that's why it's popular. That's why it's taken off. So I'm just encouraging, saying that I would love to work with you guys. Like, how do you package value behind your product in such a way that you would get, sort of adoption, traction, and you can get that message spread around from a value proposition, not because of what the tool does, which is it is a rich tool for Black history. That's what it does. But what is the value? That's what we need to quantify to back up this tool, and it will take off. That's my opinion.
So thank you, and we agree, and I will answer that in this way. Yes, we do have to maintain client engagement and determine value. And actually, we're going to be able to do a lot of that based upon the traction of the people that actually buy it in the first place, to say, how are they using it and what are the results? I can't tell someone that the grades, the 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 performance of the schools went up by 30% when Diversity Schoolhouse has been around for 6 months, and so they've only been using it for 2 of those months. So I have no idea. So if we can't survive and make sure that we have a viable product that enough people are signing up for to justify us growing and building the staff to be able to say, hey, let's show the value prop. You know what the value proposition is? They're trying to teach ethnic studies as a mandate for the state, and they don't have any resources. That's why that's how Boston Public Schools is talking to us today. That's why California has mandated ethnic studies is required for all high school students to graduate in 2025. And guess what? The teachers are saying, we don't even have the resources now. How are we going to have the resources for them? Guess what? They come to us because we do have the resources. So now, after we've had it up and running for a number of years, we can certainly say, this is why you want to keep renewing. And this is how it's, improve your school's grades or whatever else. There's a whole study on the importance of ethnic studies, but that comes after you. When you have no customers, what am I selling? What value prop can I give to them? Except guess what? You want this because your state mandated it, and we're something that aligns with your state mandates. And that's why people are signing up today. Later on,
Dale,
once we have
Dale,
revenue, we can now.
that's a value prop. That's exactly why it's a compliance issue, right? You have to do this.
You know what? This strikes me as something that's great for us to have offline. I did a share screen. Yeah, so yes, we get it. That's why we're starting to collect testimonials, etc. At the same time, there's two main guys. We're trying to get into the market. The value of those sorts of things are going to become later. We're just trying to make sure that we're around in 6 months. We're just trying to make sure right now we need to focus on getting into schools so that we'll be around to be able to collect that data, et cetera, come up with the KPIs, come up with surveys when they start, when a year later, et cetera, et cetera. All great ideas, but we live in the right here and now, and right here and now, we need to get into more schools who will give us testimonials like that. So let's talk. Let's definitely talk. We're happy.
Looks like a bunch of people have already dropped off, so we're way beyond time limit.
Yeah. And
we can talk a lot about what we're doing, but it's probably something we should have a separate conversation in a separate meeting about.
Yeah. Sorry, Keita, we're not trying to. We definitely do want to.
Oh, this is fine. This is fine. I think we often go way over like this, so it's no problem. It's
okay.
great.
Also, this isn't like a sales meeting for us or whatever. That's not. We're not trying.
Right.
We're happy to.
From generative AI to how do we make teachers know more about the value proposition for Diversity Schoolhouse. We aren't hating on that. We're just saying that wasn't the intent here. And we certainly would love to have a separate meeting on that.
Yeah, I totally understand. I didn't mean to take a tangent. I think that we're kind of done with the presentation, and we started talking about value and impact. So I wanted to talk about that. I just say one last thing. I go to a massive church, tons of resources, right? But the church is not quite diverse, right? Can you imagine bringing this to the pastor and saying, hey, by the way, this is a great way for you to talk about how you educate your people on Black history, right? So that they're more tolerant, right? And something along those lines is, hey, man, can you talk? It's a massive pastor here in Atlanta. You bring this up to him. Pastors, first of all, they're not going to say no to you, even if they want to say no to you. And then you throw diversity in the picture and say, hey, we can use this to educate your constituents on this Black history. Yeah, go ahead.
Excuse me, bro. I dropped the our Calendly link in there because if you want us to give a talk on what we call Black Facts for Churches, we can do that. I say that because we believe that's a great idea. It's such a great idea that we've been talking about that for over a year. And
it's on our website right now. We've got special pricing. We got flyers about it. We actually have an offering just for churches.
But this says churches right here. So yeah, we've been thinking about and planning and talking about these things for a while. So let's meet offline and we'll talk and we'll we'll be happy to brainstorm and your ideas are right in line with things that make perfect sense to us. So thank you.
Gotcha. No problem.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. All right.
I believe we left our Calendly and you guys have our email addresses. Anyone can reach out to us anytime. While Ken is on LinkedIn all the time, I have over 13,000 followers, so I kind of ignore all the buzzes that happen on LinkedIn.
Right.
So,
Use Calendly link. Oh.
Yeah.
By the way, do folks know who runs Calendly?
This is a Nigerian brother. He owns it.
Nigeria.
exactly.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's right.
I
Yeah.
know exactly what that is. Yeah.
Yup. Yeah. I've seen him show up as quote Nigerian. Haven't really seen him show up in quote black spaces.
That's a whole nother conversation. Like,
Right?
I'm not gonna lie to you. When you meet, like, I'm not gonna lie to you. So, like,
Jola
how
said,
the
hold up. I
African-American
need to join this conversation.
Yeah, hold on. No, like, so the African American mentality, like, for example, like you have your Kevin Harts, they bring their brothers with them. There's a mentality, you bring your family. Like you said, there's no point in being rich by yourself. It's boring like that. So, where the African mentality is not always the same, it's definitely much more different. It's the king of the lion, and it's not always I'm looking to bring my brother with me. I'm at the top of the mountain, and I'm going to make sure I stay at the top of the mountain.
I don't know if I could subscribe to that. As an African myself, my whole focus is I've never been.
Dan Goatee, him, we can name all the Nigerian billionaires that bring nobody with them, but they make sure.
Time out. Let's not. Okay, now I get it, and it's so funny because Dale, born in Jamaica, I'm like third generation Caribbean American. I've gotten the sense that from the African folks, and I'm thinking Nigeria, Ghana, South Africa, that I've theorized that the whole Ubuntu concept has led folks to be more community oriented. I don't know. I wonder if we're talking about more of a wealthy, a greedy capitalist as opposed to a philanthropic capitalist mentality than a Nigerian. I don't know, but I do hope that with any of our different interconnected cultures, all we need to find is a few that have a Pan-Africanistic view. I don't care where your granddaddy came from. If you say you're black, I'm down with you.
I can honestly contribute to this a little bit. When I was in Cambridge, when I was at Harvard, and in that department in that school, obviously you're not going to see many African Americans, and so I was one of few. You saw the black people you saw there were mostly African.
Yep.
And when I was back in high school, when I was coming up, I was always in the tech, and I was always an autodidact and what have you, an outlier, very much an outlier within the African American community. But I always had strong alignments with Africans. It was nothing I did in particular, from the women I dated to, my brother's wife is Kenyan, as a side note. The one thing that I will say, and this is not to disparage any group, Africans do have a belief about African Americans. You see it not only with
your audio dropped.
Man, I could completely.
You call that guy right there.
I know exactly what he was gonna say. I could complete exactly his thought process right now. Let him come back online, but that's hilarious. I know exactly what he's gonna say.
Hold on, just give me 1 second. Let me get back on here. My what's the name just sort of fell off. My point is, I've been always like African
between the African community and Black Americans. And there's a big disconnect. And a lot of that is the way a lot of us, the way we paint ourselves as African Americans, what we value. A lot of it is as a Black American who's been in tech and been in tech for a bit and even graduated, from Harvard and tech and what have you, I get more criticism from African Americans. Even with my venture that I'm doing right now, it's African Americans in general just they don't, and it's not criticizing, this is just a fact, and we've talked about this. But Africans, on the other hand, tend to value like engineering. They value the things. And I think that, so a lot of times they separate themselves. What we're seeing is them naturally separate themselves from Black Americans, a lot of times because of stereotypes, and a lot of times because of actuals. So as a Black American, I mean, that's my perspective and my experience on it. I've had no problems aligning with Africans whatsoever.
A quick question, because your audio was choppy when you said at Harvard in a certain school and not that many.
Yeah. Okay. So in Harvard in computer science.
In computer science.
Yeah. So what happens is when I meet Black Americans, when I met Black Americans, when they say you went to Harvard, they automatically assume Harvard law or business or medicine. And if I say computer science, I get this real sort of kind of nasty side eye, like, what are you doing that for? Why do you go to Harvard Law? Or why do you go? It's really weird. And I'm not saying that this is everyone, but this tends to be a general consensus. Whereas with Africans, it's been completely different. And I'm not doing that to paint a picture, cast a wide net, obviously. But I am saying that in my experience, having lived in just about every region of the US and have dealt with a broad range of people, we as a people don't tend to smile favorably, look favorably upon our own people going into tech. Although when we're successful in tech, we smile. It's more about outcome, but it's not about the journey. Does that make sense?
Yes, it makes sense. It's a little interesting because my experience, going to MIT in the early 1980s was a little different, but not saying what, but you know what? Since we're talking about some of these big picture things, I'm curious what thoughts folks may have on the viability or not of one of my many harebrained schemes. I'm trying to remember, did I call this like the Sankofa Technology Initiative or whatever, which the idea was to leverage networks like Blacks in Technology that has 30,000 members in about 20 countries, at least 8 of them on the continent. It is mostly Black folks who are professionals in tech. But the idea of connecting Black Americans with Africans who were looking to develop or deepen tech skills by finding projects for them that they can work on. For example, there's a young man in Nigeria who I've been paying a couple of $100 a week, which is very good money for him, to do some WordPress stuff for me. And to whatever extent the different economics may be able to create opportunities where market rate projects sourced from the US and Europe, can be used to, or competitively priced projects can be used to create middle-class lifestyles, because of different economics, I've fantasized that could be a way to get more Black Americans who are in technology to have an interest in connecting across the Atlantic, to work with folks on the continent and possibly, start developing new industries that can compete with the Indias and, and some of the other.
So an Upwork for Africa, basically. An Upwork with a focus, Upwork with a focus on Africa.
Well, yeah, and it's so funny because when I use Upwork, I say I put on my racist filters when I search for all the Black people. We're still recording, damn it.
I think it's a wonderful idea. We're actually trying to implement stuff like that. So at Hewani, my consulting company, my partner is in Nairobi, and for data projects, we hire extensively from Africa.
So
I've been
let's
hiring, yeah, I've been hiring.
more,
Yeah.
because I'm friends with Greg Greenlee, who's the founder of Blacks in Technology, as well as Dennis Schultz, who runs the Blacks in Technology Foundation. So I have them on Slack speed dial, so to say.
Yeah, I can get you tech folks. I mean, I also partner with Zindi. I don't know if you heard of them, but they're like the Kaggle in Africa.
Okay.
And I've worked with them on a few projects where we have people, African people, being the data scientist or the machine learning engineer on the project. And we're trying to actually expand. We had a live event last week, and one of the things we did was pitch Zindi as a repository of talent from Africa. So yeah, let's talk some more.
Yeah. And actually, there's a sister. I forget her name right now, but we chatted recently, it was like a couple of weeks ago, who's in Zimbabwe, who her focus is, she says that there they have a lot of folks who graduate from college and can't find work. We're not talking tech now. It's not like tech focused, but I would love to connect you with her. And these are, when I call things my harebrained schemes, they're ideas that I come up with that I think someone needs to do, whether it's me or whatever. And being as old as I am and connected to different people, I have different folks who I might be able to connect you to, even if I don't necessarily see myself being hands-on trying to find folks gigs, but I may be able to make connections with you.
Yeah, that would be great.
Because I'm that dude who I will call up someone and be like, yo, you need to talk to Keita. Why? Because they ain't giving me a damn thing, so I don't care if they're mad at me. I ain't got shit to lose.
Yeah. I would say the connection, I would also add to your thought, so the connection could go from both ends. So one problem we see with African candidates for jobs in North America is that they are competent, but they don't know how to interview. In America, interviewing is like a whole thing in itself, right? You got to know all the passwords and all the gestures and all this, but they don't know that. They don't have that context. So it would be great if we had like professionals over here be mentors of people in Africa and tell them things like that, give them the inside story.
No, I hear you. Yeah. So again, yeah. Let's definitely talk offline because, again, with Ken, everything comes down to this technology thing, I believe, is the greatest democratizing, small d, not talking politics, opportunity for us that we've ever had, but it only works as well as we use it. Yes, sir.
I swear, this is one of those conversations that we could just keep going as the topics ping off of different things.
Yes.
I'm going to be dropping off myself, gentlemen. I want to thank you for listening to Ken as he, delves deep into his area of expertise, listening to me when I got on my soapbox. Sorry, I just, it's coming out. It was coming out. I'm good now. I'm good now. Serenity now.
It's a pleasure.
Woosah.
This forum is to have these types of discussions. This is what this forum is for. So it was a pleasure to hear both of you.
Yep.
All right.
Thank
you, gentlemen.
And other folks who start managing, this. I've actually said this. I usually say it in more one-on-one conversations, but Dale mentioned, we're both in two of the different D9 fraternities and stuff. And I say that I think Black Executive Men is the most intentional and from my perspective, successful networking organization I have seen to date, honestly. So, yeah. So thank you for your work in organizing and keeping these things going.
Listen, you guys put in the work and you keep it real. And honestly, even just the different conversations and the engagement, it's way beyond what we have seen. And we've seen a lot, as you can tell from the gray beards. we have seen a lot. So thank you. Keep it up. Keep it up.
From you two, with your history and your achievements, it's an honor to hear you all say that. Thank you.
All
right. I'm off.
Yep.
All right. See y'all, everyone.
Dowdy out.
All right, guys.
Right.
Bye.